Good deal. As soon as we get Steve back up here, well, then we'll be good to go. You on your way? Perfect. All right, so I will call this regular meeting Tuesday, September 6th, 10 o'clock, pretty much straight up to order. And Steve, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. Please join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who's doing the invocation? James, are you doing an invocation this morning? I guess so. Thank you.
Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly bow our heads before Thee at the beginning of this Board of Supervisors meeting for Gila County. We're grateful for the bounteous blessings Thou hast bestowed upon us. We are very fortunate. We are grateful to live in a free country that we can exercise our rights and freedoms that we enjoy. We're grateful for this Board of Supervisors that has been elected and put into office. We're grateful for their wisdom and for their efforts to follow that which is right and good and the best for the people of this wonderful county. We pray Thy Spirit to be with us here today, that we might be directed in Thy thoughts and with Thy wisdom. We pray, Father, for those that are less fortunate, that they may be blessed. We pray for our servicemen that protect our freedoms and our rights. We pray for those that suffer and have needs, that we may be mindful of those and strive always to serve and give of ourselves the plentiful things that Thou hast blessed us with. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Okay, now we're set. So we'll start this with 2A presentations. Our first presentation is public recognition of 12 employees through the County Spotlight on Employees program. As follows: Amber Warden, Sylvia Martinez, Amy Stanton, Maren Bailing, Nicole Weaver, Betty Hurst, Stephanie Chandez, Crystal Lopez, Annie Hammer, Stacy Espinoza, Dave Rogers, and Karen Bartling. And Erica, you're up. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. As mentioned, we do have 12 employees that were nominated for this month's Spotlight on Employees. Our very first one is a group nomination, and I'll read it and have the employees come up one by one. So the nomination read, over the past few years, the finance team has worked diligently in catching up our financial, federal, single audit, and expenditure limitation audit. It takes a whole team to prepare for and provide information to the auditors to get to the point where the auditor provides recommendations for corrections and process improvement. The finance team has significantly reduced the overall findings from fiscal year 2016 to fiscal year 2021 and are working to provide corrective actions for the remaining findings. I am pleased to nominate the finance team for the Spotlight Award as they have suffered through years of the never-ending audit playing catch-up. Now that audits are current, it allows the county to be able to submit for grants to capture additional funding. So first and foremost, we have Amber Warden, who's been with the county for almost 15 years. Amber?
Chairman of the board, members, I just want to say thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Sylvia Martinez, who's been with the county almost 15 and a half years. Sylvia? We have Amy Staten, who's been with the county almost 4 years. Amy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Maren Belling, who's been with the has been with the county a little over 4 years.
Mr. Chairman and board members, that you got our staff out of our office today is nothing short of a miracle. These are the most introverted ladies in all of Gila County. So I wanted to say thank you to our team for stepping out today.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
We have Nicole Weaver, who's been with the county a little over 10 years, but she wasn't able to make it in today. Betty Hurst, also with the county a little over 9 years and not in today. We do have Stephanie Chidas, who's been with the county a little over 9 years. Stephanie?
Thank you.
Crystal Lopez, who's been with the county a little over 9 years as well. Crystal? Annie Hammer, who's been with the county a little over 8 months, as well as Stacy Espinoza, who's been with the county a little over 4 years. And again, they weren't able to make it in today. Our next nomination is for Dave Rogers. His spotlight nomination read, over the past 2 years, Dave has shown amazing initiative, customer service, integrity, morale building ability, the quality of his work, and most importantly, teamwork and the amount of time and effort he has spent working with the Board of Supervisors Department. We greatly appreciate his hard work on lunch hours, after hours, weekends, even vacations and holidays. This does not give enough space to express all of the gratitude the board wishes to convey, but we wish to thank him with this spotlight. Dave's been with the county for over 27 years. Dave?
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and still an honor serving the board as their IT person. And we also have Joseph and Cassie that also help out for the board meetings. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Carrie Bartling. Carrie's nomination reads, Carrie always greets everyone with a warm smile and open, can-do attitude. She's always bright, cheerful, and always has solutions. She never carries a negative vibe, which makes everyone around her more at ease, and she always takes the initiative in any situation. We appreciate her morale building, quality of work, integrity at her position, the leadership she shows with her team, and customer service. The Board of Supervisors wishes to thank her for all that she does. Carrie is also with IT and has been employed with the county for over 2 years. Carrie?
I want to thank y'all, and as always, the IT department is always more than willing to help anybody and find solutions for you. Even if it doesn't seem like there's a solution, we will find a way and make the solution happen for y'all. So, as always, please reach out to us at any time, and we will help you. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that does conclude this month's presentation.
Thank you, Erica. Supervisor Humphrey?
Thanks everybody for helping us help the constituents. It's amazing the things that we're able to get done because of the people that we have that help us in everyday projects. And so hats off to you. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Erica. And just to add to that, we have a great deal of really exceptional employees with the county. It's great that we do these spotlights and that we recognize people. So I'm very proud to be a part of the county and very proud that we have so many really exceptional workers. Thank you.
Same with me, Erica. I want to congratulate all of you this morning that are here too, and all the other employees that are out there. I know everyone's doing a great job, so thank you all so much, and thank you for bringing this forward, Erica. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
lest we forget our illustrious finance director,
Is she going to give a speech, James?
we certainly can expect a speech if we'd like to. But Mary, we thank you. Again, you came and at my begging and groveling and insistence that we needed you, and we certainly did and do need you, that you provide the leadership and direction for the finance team. They've become a fabulous team that has found great success. It's because of your leadership and your direction. So I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful that you became part of Gila County.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Board. And yeah, Gila County has been really great to me, not knowing what to expect when I first walked in the door. but you guys have blessed me with a great team. And it's not one person that does it, it's the whole group. And it's the county, because we've caught up the audits, but we've caught up with the help of pretty much every department in Gila County. And like Maren said, these gals are very reluctant to come up and be in front of you. The fact that they came up today speaks volumes of their character. So I thank them and thank you as well. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, moving on to 2B, the acknowledgement of the 22-27 Gila County Community Health Improvement Plan, which justifies how and where public health resources should be allocated to best meet the health needs of the Gila County residents. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. So, the Community Health Improvement Plan is actually one of the few really localized kind of Gila County things that we get to do. For most of you guys, we've talked to you before about a lot of public health is the grant money we get from the Arizona Department of Health Services. So this is one of the few plans we have where the community really directs what happens in public health. So last year we did a community health assessment. It sent all kinds of surveys out. We went into the libraries, different places, collected data, and saw what it is that people in Gila County want to see improved with public health. So then this year, starting in December, we met to work on the CHIP, the Community Health Improvement Plan, which kind of takes everything we saw from what are the problems, what does the data show for Gila County, and it says, here's what we think, the people of Gila County think we should focus on and how we should focus on that. So as I said, we started December, we have the final, you guys have the CHIP in your hands. The 3 things people picked. So priority 1 was drug-induced deaths. One of the good things about that area is we actually receive around $150,000 a year from the Arizona Department of Health Services to work on naloxone distribution and other things to help work in this area. Priority 2 was suicide, which is a little more interesting for us in public health. Behavioral health, once Governor Ducey became governor, got moved over to access. So this is a new area for us. We've not funded in this area, but as we talk about later on, it's an area that we're willing to try to help out with. And then teen pregnancy is number 3, which has been one that we've had on the previous community health improvement plans that we've done in the county. So as we look here, if you're wondering why priority 1 was drug-induced deaths, so we still keep seeing around, this is over 5th year in a row where we've had at least 100% increase in the number of drug-induced deaths. I know we've had a couple good events in Payson, and then we're working with the Veterans Center. Some of the other things that we're doing are really kind of working towards this area. The biggest thing that we do as health department is the naloxone distribution, working with the fire departments, the local clinics, but there's also a lot of other work that can be done in this area. They were tied, but priority number 2 is suicides. As you can see, they call it a trend. We've really seen this the last 3 years, 2019, 20, and 21. We saw a large increase in 2020 and 2021. Obviously, there's a lot of talk that probably a lot of this is due to COVID and the isolation that brought. If you look at the, you can see that bottom green bracket is the 70 and older age group. So we saw a large increase in especially firearm deaths in that over 71 age group. And they were the ones that many of us are familiar with, that had to stay home a lot during COVID because they were the highest, group of the highest risk. So hopefully we'll see that come back down now that we have vaccinations and everything. The other thing I'd like to say on these areas is even though we don't receive money in this, I think seeing this as our second priority, we've worked a lot with Stephen Lassard, Arizona Youth Partnership, the Payson Chamber of Commerce stepped up. We had a lot of people come to the meeting, and with the opioid settlement money that's coming from Purdue Pharma, right? And then we've got the state's marijuana money. It's not a lot of money, but we have all these little pots of money that are coming in. So we'll be kind of doing something that we like to do, but breaking those public health silos down and really trying to get probation and the sheriff's office and kind of all of us together on board to try to tackle these problems that aren't really, just SO or just public health problems. So hopefully that's our goal in this next year, is to kind of keep this group going and see, hopefully we can help make a difference in these numbers. Number 3, teen pregnancy prevention, or teen pregnancy. For those of you who don't know, Gila County has, I think in the 9 years that I've been here, we've been number 1 in the state all 9 years. We're typically in the top 10 or 15 in the country for highest percent of pregnancies per. I might have. Per 100,000. There you go. And there are a lot of things that this is an area that we receive around $200,000 from the state. I'll be the first to say it's a lot of different things that the federal government wants us to push with teen pregnancy prevention. I think the goal that we're going to try to do a better job of here in these next few years is, for those you don't know, the biggest problem with teen pregnancy is that it usually sets them into a lower life expectancy, future poverty. Their children usually grow up in future poverty. It's all those negative consequences. So we're really going to try to see if we can focus and kind of turn around and work with the schools more on, obviously we have to do the things that the state funds us to do, but can we really get in there and just kind of let people know the differences and kind of educate better on why those things are an issue and why the wait? Because we know that, the things that cause pregnancies happen just as much in the other counties and everywhere else. It's just that cultural change or that bigger look on life to understand what the consequences are to those decisions, and maybe we can make a dent finally by changing up and working in that area. One of the cool things we do with this is an asset map. Whenever we do the community health improvement plans, kind of what I was talking about before. So we look at all the different partners that came to the table, and we say, how do we put them all together and work towards these things? Because public health can't work on all these alone. So one of the things we really learned, so if you look at these are all organizations that came to the table. Banner Payson was there, City Globe, us, Probation, Superintendent's Office, the libraries, Arizona Youth Partnership. So we were able to look at these 2-3 priorities, and then each one of the bars you see there is all these organizations are already working in those areas. Probably a little more siloed than we should be. So we're going to try to kind of put us together and use all those little bit of efforts that we can to kind of, put it all together and see if we can accomplish a little bit more outside of our individual boxes. And I think, just so you guys can see, it's all the different places we have in northern Gila County, which is quite a few, working towards the 3 priorities, and the same with southern Gila County. So resources are there. They're not as well funded as we'd like, but we have a lot of people at the table, which is always a good place to start, in my opinion. And I think that is all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Josh. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions, just thank you for all of the work that you're doing and trying to get everybody on the same page. Together, everybody achieves more, isn't that what team is, right?
Yep.
Cool, thank you.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Josh, yeah. I wish Gila County per capita didn't have the numbers that it has. So the programs that you're trying to do with partnerships with some of the, like Probation and some of the other groups in the county, I don't know how you address teen pregnancy other than education, but is there a particular area of Gila County that is contributing to this number, or is it sort of just a county-wide? And why would we be?
It's fairly county-wide, and I've asked this question of Nikki and some of our staff over there before, and are there areas, some years Payson can be a little bit higher, Young can be a little bit higher, but nowhere to a point where I would say we need to focus all of our effort here. It's across the county enough that you couldn't just focus in one area.
Is it a matter of, pardon me, education in the schools, or, availability to advice, or?
And we do the same, I guess that's why we kind of want to break down the box and try something new, because we do the same education that's paid for in the schools that, all the rest of the counties and states throughout America do, and we haven't made the difference. And I think that those are still good courses and things that we teach in the schools, but I think that that's when you say, 10 years, it's time to shake the tree and work with people and see if we can, come up with some other ideas that break the mold or change the culture a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Josh.
Josh, thanks for everything you guys are doing. This looks good and well worth giving it a shot for sure. So thank you so much. All right. moving on to 3A, public hearings, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 22-09-01, which approves Gila County Community Development Case Number CUPP 2205-001, a request by Bill and Susan Goodwin, owners and applicants for a conditional use permit on Assayers Tax Parcel Number 302-34016C, located at 8130 West Dukes Road, Payson, Arizona, subject to the adherence of the conditions of approval as outlined in the resolution. Good morning, Randy.
Morning, Supervisors. I'm here this morning. This started with Bill and Susan Goodwin trying to permit a garage. And what the county does is when someone comes in with a permit, we just look at their site plan, verify everything has permits. And we found that the structures that are here before us today were put up in approximately 2009, 2010, where we can tell that were not permitted. And the current owners bought this property in 2018. But state statute does say that if there is a safety concern, that they are responsible for that, the new owners are. And so we're here today. They have this wood structure here that is approximately 2 feet from the wood fence and the property line on the backside, and which violates building code and fire code and zoning code. So they came here asking for a conditional use permit to allow this. I will tell you that the Planning and Zoning Commission did move this forward with a 3-2 vote with the 10 restrictions or outlines that we had. They did do a public meeting on the site. 6 individuals did show up and didn't have any concerns that were recorded. Also, after there's some deed restrictions on this property that staff wasn't sure applied, but after having legal review, they do apply, which requires this structure or any structures on the property to have a masonry foundation. And this does not, according to the engineer. So there's not only some code issues here and violations, there's also deed restrictions, which my understanding is we can't ever waive those deed restrictions. They went along with the land and are recorded against the land and everything else. So at this point, I will tell you that the Planning and Zoning did approve it, but staff still recommends denial. And I believe the applicants are probably in Payson. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Randy. Supervisor Humphrey.
Well, I guess my comment is it just seems on some of these wanting to do things, that's like a speed limit at 55. That's the speed limit, and it's set for a reason. And so if you want to do 85, you need a good reason. And so looking at this, we have multiple violations, and even deed restrictions are not our responsibility. That's something in the deed of the property that was done in the property purchase. And so my 2 cents is I don't know how we can override a deed restriction.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. I have no questions, Randy. Thanks.
So going back to this, Randy, so what they're wanting to do is just permit this building, basically, because it's already there.
No, this is already there. It was built without permit. It's called BWOP, built without permit. It was not built by them. It was built by the prior owner. They wanted to come and put a garage in. And during that application process is when staff realized that there's these two, And I think there's a couple other sheds that are in violations. But they had talked about removing those, when the garage was built and stuff. So, this structure is pretty, I guess, from my words, would be fragile. That they really couldn't move it easily without causing some stuff. They're working on trying to get an engineer to tell them how to do that. But at this point, we have nothing. And again, we'd go back to deed restrictions that apply besides the code and the violations and the zoning violations.
So my thoughts are deed restrictions are beyond us. That's not what we're gonna be dealing with because that's already put in place.
Correct.
If I'm wrong, I'm sure Jessica's gonna,
They're nothing
Chime in, but-
that we
Right.
at this point can waive or approve or deny or.
so the conditions on this, what are they?
There are 10 conditions. The Goodwins must obtain and submit building plans from an engineer licensed to practice in Arizona, which include foundations for the structures and statements that the structures meet current adopted codes for the ramada and the shed, and to be reviewed and approved by the building department no later than 60 days of the date of the conditional use permit. The engineer must certify by engineering stamped all measures that meet the fire code, along with the building code at this point. At no time can structures be used as habitable spaces. These are non-habitable structures. No utilities to the structure shall be permitted. No appliances or tools that emit flame and/or heat are allowed to be used inside the structure. No further encroachment shall occur within any setback. Any further addition shall be reviewed and permitted prior to construction. No other structures or additions can be performed on this property without obtaining a permit as required by Gila County ordinance. No other structures on this property must meet, or all other structures on this property must meet all setback requirements or be removed in 30 days. The Goodwins must abide by all state, federal, and local regulations and are applicable, and they must obtain all state and federal and local permits as applicable.
So what I'm getting out of that, if this was to pass, then they're gonna have an engineer that's gonna work with them to put a foundation under this and do whatever they need to bring this shed up to.
I have talked to the engineer that they are talking to at this point. There is foundations there, but they are not masonry foundations, so they don't meet the deed restrictions. The engineer was concerned about being able to accomplish all those restrictions.
So let me ask you a question then. If they were unable to obtain all that, if this was to pass, then what happens?
They would, I guess it would turn into a code case, and we wouldn't permit the garage, obviously, until this was dealt with. And then it would turn into a code case, and then we would go to a hearing officer and follow that process.
Okay, supervisors, do you have anything else? Did that jog your thoughts? Tim?
Yeah, it just sounds like a difficult deal either way. And if we don't pass it, then what's gonna happen with the structures and things?
There's a good chance they'll have to be removed.
Supervisor Christensen?
Well, yeah, and I talked to Randy about this earlier. So for us to pass this, and then they have to make all those accommodations. They have to make those accommodations whether we pass it or not.
If they wanted to keep it, yes.
Yeah, so,
Actually, if they wanted to keep it without this passing, then they would probably have to move it and meet the 7-foot setback requirement.
right, along with several other things. So I think
it's-
I understand where we need to go with this.
So I have one more question for you, Randy. How long has this been in existence, this shed? How long has it been there?
So we went back, we go through Google, the world changed. And it looks like it was done in 2000, let me make sure here. 2009 or 10 is when we saw it on Google, that it was erected without a permit. And The current Bill and Susan Goodwin bought it in 2018.
So it's been standing for a while.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and open this up to public hearing. Lisa, I believe we have some folks there in Payson that want to speak to this. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have Bill Goodwin and Susan Goodwin here to speak to you.
Okay. Whichever one wants to go first.
Good morning, and my name's Bill Goodwin, resident 8130 West Dukes Road, Payson, Arizona. Oh, as Randy said, this structure's been in place for approximately 10 years at least. The neighbors that we have talked to that have no complaints about it state that they thought it went into place approximately 2008, possibly 2009. The Ramada structure itself, the verticals on it for supports are all constructed telephone poles that are buried approximately 3 to 4 feet in the ground and will require heavy equipment to get out. I don't know any other way if we are instructed to remove said structure, which is part of the challenge we're having trying to relocate it, just because the amount of effort it's going to take to relocate it. And speaking with the engineer, the shed itself, we would have to do some work on it for fire mitigation, either by replacing all the siding with a concrete-based siding for fire mitigation and prevention. And then also in speaking with the neighbor who shares the fence line with us, there is some repair work that needs to be done on the fencing, and he has already agreed to work with us to move the pickets, or when we replace the pickets, to use a fire-rated picket instead of just a standard over-the-counter wood picket to give us a little bit better fire mitigation, and/or we could use a fire repellent paint of some type to give us a little bit extra. And by moving the pickets to his side of the property versus ours, it'll give us approximately 10 more inches of clearance.
Okay. And so you guys are willing to do all this work if it did pass, to put in the effort it takes to bring this up to snuff? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we're willing to give it a shot. We believe we can meet all the requirements. There's a couple things that the engineer was concerned with that we're going to have to work with him on. But there was nothing glaring that would prevent us from doing some of the work. The challenge we will have is to meeting, as was stated in the last meeting, we were at a minimum of 3 feet. We could be a couple inches shy of 3 feet after relocating all the fencing pickets and then doing the fencing work itself. The neighbor was not willing to physically move the fence approximately another foot to 2 feet into his property line and give us that additional room. But he was willing to move the pickets on the other side of onto his property side of the property instead of versus ours, to give us a little bit of room.
Okay, thank you. Next.
That will be all.
That'll be it? Okay, Lisa, thank you. Do we have anyone on YouTube? No, I don't believe we have anyone here. I don't see anyone. So with that, I'll close the public hearings.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
sir.
have a comment to make before the board takes action.
Pardon me?
I have a comment I'd like to make before.
Oh, you bet. Go ahead, Jeff.
So, because there's a deed restriction, that means if the board approves this, just want to make sure the board is clear on this legal point, any beneficiary of that deed restriction, that means any neighbor that has the same deed restrictions, could bring a lawsuit forcing them to remove the structures because it violates the deed restrictions. Even the neighbor he was talking about that agreed to do something with the fence, if they sold their property to somebody else and the new property owner came in, read the deed and said, oh, they're in violation, they could bring a lawsuit despite the board's approval of this conditional use permit. They're subject to having a lawsuit remove these restrictions anyway. So that's how deed restrictions are different than a conditional use permit.
But Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's outside of our preview, right? I mean, that'd be between the property owners and if there's an HOA or whatever it is there to enforce or carry it on or do whatever.
When you say it's outside of your purview, I assume you mean it's independent of what you're doing. It is
Okay.
separate, it's independent, but I think it's something the board would want to know about, that when the board takes action approving a conditional use permit that's contrary to a deed restriction, the board is perhaps encouraging litigation between neighbors, because now neighbors have a cause of action against each other they didn't have before, because someone's been authorized to do something that's contrary to a deed restriction.
So I understand what you're saying, but hearing Randy, what you said earlier was that you had a meeting there with like 6 other people that,
For a conditional use permit, you're required to send out 300-foot radius notes and have a citizen participation meeting on the site. And they had 6 individuals show up. They run the meeting themselves. They reported that there were no concerns at this point. But like Jeff said, that those 6 neighbors could be gone tomorrow. That's not, but that is our current process, and that was followed.
thank you, Randy. All right, supervisors, what do you want to do? I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll take a bite at it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I move to adopt resolution number 22-09-01.
Do I have a second?
Not unless you're gonna do it.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
2 in favor, 1 opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Randy. On to the next. 2B, information discussion action to adopt resolution number 22-09-02, which approves Gila County Community Development Case Number CUPP 2206-001, a request by Christopher Bleak and Patricia Fusco, owners and applicants, or Bleak and Fusco, for a conditional use permit upon assessed tax parcel number 2010419A, located at 533 North Pioneer Pass, Tonto Basin, Arizona, subject to the adherence of the conditions of approval as outlined in the resolution. Randy?
Good morning again. So this started as a code case in 2020. The prior owner, instead of dealing with the code case, sold the house and sold it to the current Christopher Bleak and Patricia Fusco in '21. This actually started off as a single wide. As you can kind of tell by the picture, in the middle there's basically a single wide structure there. And those were 2 porches that were put on there over the single wide. It has since been enclosed, and it has been enclosed for 20-plus years. The garage off to the corner there was permitted, and the county allowed a 4-foot setback on the far north corner. And if you'll notice, there's kind of a lighter color roof there. That is a carport that was added without a permit, and that is 3 feet. And then if you follow to the white area where the house is, that goes from 5 feet at the corner to 10 feet on the left edge for me here. But as you can see, that's to the property line, but that front area there is a Tonto Basin easement that is no build. So they probably have, I'm gonna say between 60 and 80 feet of clear, no buildable space from Tonto Basin, and that's how they got all their clearances there. So the way our ordinance reads is they have to be to their property line, and if you'll notice, there's kind of a fence there, and that's rough for the property line, but they have no safety issues with it because of that front no-build easement on there. So they also have 7 restrictions that would go if this was approved. No further encroachment is permitted within any setbacks. No other structures or additions are authorized to be performed on this property without obtaining a building permit as required by Gila County ordinance. All work proposed to be done on the existing structure must be reviewed by the engineer licensed to practice in the state of Arizona, who certifies that the work meets all current code requirements, including all life safety. Any further additions must be reviewed and permitted prior to construction. Building permits are required for work to be done on the existing structures. The property and its structures are required to meet wastewater requirements, and Bleak and Fusco must abide by all state, federal, and local regulations that are applicable, and they also must meet all state, federal, and local permits as required. Just want to make sure. The center part of this structure, I will tell you, has got a demo permit and the single wide has basically been pulled out of the structure. So it is a continuous roof structure that has been encompassed through the 2 porches and over the middle. And they'll have to get an engineer to say that works for what they've done there. But that middle part has been removed. The roof structure is still there, but the guts of it have been removed at this point by a demo permit.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Supervisor Humphrey.
Are there any deed restrictions?
There are no deed restrictions on this one. And I will tell you, all zoning requests, we do check for deed restrictions. And all that takes is we send an email to the recorder and say what's recorded against the property. So this is not a complicated process for anyone to do this. But there are no deed restrictions on this property. This just was a code violation.
Anything else? You're good? Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you.
So I would assume that you had the same meeting with neighbors or whoever else was involved?
Correct. The conditioning approach, again, requires a 300-foot radius that we send out, or they send out letters to. They had one individual show up, and they reported no issues.
Okay. All right, so this time I'll open the public hearing part of this. Lisa, do you have anyone in Payson?
No, sir, I do not.
Do we have on YouTube? None on YouTube. And I see no one here. So I'll close that part of it. And supervisors, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 22-09-02.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Randy. 3C, information discussion action to adopt resolution number 22-09-05 to name 2 new roads in the Tonto Basin, Arizona area as East American Way and East Forest Service Road 1553. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. These roads generally are in Tonto Basin area, specifically Jake's Corner. We had sent letters out, no objections. Staff recommends the names that were proposed. The owners were unanimous in their satisfaction of the names. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. No questions.
Neither do I. So let's open up this public hearing part of it. And Lisa, do you have anyone in Payson?
No, sir.
None on YouTube? Okay, and we don't have anyone here either. So that'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to adopt resolution number 22-09-05.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Steve. Number 4, regular agenda items. 4A, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 1 to the Master Services and Purchasing Agreement, quote number Q-406557-44797.822 TC with Axon Enterprises Incorporated to implement the TASER 7 certification plan for 5 years from August 2022 to August 2027 for a total cost of $86,408.06. And Gabe, good morning, sir.
So I'm Gabe Valenzuela. I'm one of the TASER instructors for the Gila County Sheriff's Office. Last year, December, we upgraded the TASERs in the patrol side to the new TASER 7s. What is before you today is a request to upgrade the TASERs used in the jail for both Globe and Payson jails. So currently, the TASERs used in both the Globe and Payson jails, they use the model, it's called X26Ps, and also some X2s. The X26Ps TASERs are about 10 years old. The X2s are a little bit newer than that. We're trying to get both the Globe jail and the Payson jail on one platform using one TASER. The new TASER 7s is the newest, latest, greatest TASER that Axon offers. And we're trying to get all the officers on both sides using one same platform. The TASER 7 improves performance with misses. There's a lot of upgrades, things that went in through these, let's say 10 years from these old X26Ps to the new TASER 7s. The probe spread, the way that the probes travel was changed, increased, better hits, I guess you could say. Things like that. So the quote before you today is an amendment to the original agreement to implement the TASER certification plan that was before the board in December 28th, 2021. This one would amend that and include the jail side, the detention bureau. The program length is 60 months. The first year is actually less due to trade-in credit that TASER is giving us for the existing TASERs that we have. So the current TASERs that we have in the jail, we're going to send back to TASER. They give us credit for the first year for that. And the quote is for 20 TASERs, holsters, 2 docks for the batteries, one for Globe and one for Payson. All the batteries, unlimited duty cartridges, training cartridges, a halt suit, which is like a Velcro suit that we use for training, and then also a training target. So this package includes everything that we need to get everybody in the jails all on trained, certified, and using the TASERs. The package will include training cartridges and certifications for 30 detention officers. We're only requesting 20 TASERs, so the detention officers will share the TASERs amongst them who's working. It includes a 5-year warranty on TASERs, docks, and batteries, and the total cost with taxes will be $86,408.06, and the sheriff's office will use jail enhancement funds for the entire 5-year program. Axon is on state contract as well as a sole source vendor. I will take any questions.
Thank you, Gabe. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, I guess I don't have any questions. I guess I was wondering, how often do you use a TASER on somebody in jail?
Knock on wood, it doesn't happen very often, but it's a tool that the detention officers have.
Yeah, I would imagine them knowing you have one would increase the opportunity not to use one, because
Could be a deterrent.
if you have one, yeah, they're not going to get out of line, I would think, so, yeah.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. Yeah, very effective tool, actually. So This money, though, spread out over 5 years, it's not a lot of money each year, so,
Correct.
yeah. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Gabe. I don't have any questions. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 1 to the master service and purchase agreement quote number Q dash 406557 dash 44797 dash 822 TC for a total cost of $86,408.06.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Gabe. 4B, information discussion action to approve the sole source contract, interoperable multimedia communications with Multilink for not to exceed the amount of $430,540 that is necessary to implement the interoperable communications to meet the requirements for state legislation. Sarah's in Payson?
I'm in Payson.
There you are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman and member of the board. This is just an agenda item to approve money that was awarded from the Arizona State Legislature to Gila County in the amount of $430,540 to install an interoperability communication system. The state legislature put requirements on the system. There are 8 requirements. Mutual Link meets all 8 of those. That's why they are considered the sole source vendor for this. They had to enable deployment of secure multimedia data communication systems to user base consisting of public safety agencies. They have to provide the communication solution environment that allows for identifying system users, identity, location, operational status during an incident, secure text messaging and file sharing to all users involved in an incident, secure sharing of collaborative maps, building floor plans and images, integrating manually activated panic alarm systems, establishing direct collaboration between public safety agencies, using multiple forms of real-time communication and information collaboration, including voice, full motion video sharing, all during an incident. They had to be capable of being deployed to end users on existing communication assets owned by the participating entities. They have to allow each participating entity to maintain discretionary real-time control of all communication assets owned and operated by the entity. They had to make sure that all media communications were encrypted. They had to ensure staff privacy. They had to make sure that they were certified under the United States Department of Homeland Security Safety Act, and then is compatible with Federal Emergency Management Agency interoperable gateway systems for disaster communications. If you look at the state legislature, it's for school safety interoperability fund, school safety pilot programs, and then there's some annual reporting that the sheriff's office will be required to do. So this is not going to expend any county funds. Like I stated earlier, it was money provided to us from the state legislature to develop this communication program. So with that, I will do my best to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Sarah. No questions.
I'm good as well, so with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the sole source contract interoperable multimedia communications with Mutual Link for not to exceed amount of $430,540.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Moving on to C, information discussion action to adopt human resources policy number BOS-HRS-017. Rick Husk. Morning, Rick.
Last week, I provided to the members of the board the policy for your review and went over the not only the policy but the procedures I have for you today. the actual form that we're going to make available to all employees that will have the need for a take-home vehicle. So I'll present that to you.
Thank you, Rick.
And this form is not part of the policy because that may change depending on IRS procedures, et cetera. So that provides a way for everyone to apply for use of the vehicle and signatures from the county manager and finance director, as well as the authorizing department. So didn't know if anybody had any questions or anything else to review, but I just asked the board to approve the take-home use policy considered BOS HRS 017.
Thank you, Rick. Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, no questions.
I'm good as well, Rick, so
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt policy number BOS-HRS-017.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to D, information, discussion, action to authorize the advertisement of request for qualifications number 072622, solid waste landfill services. Steve?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Our current contract for solid waste services that we have with Stephen Smith Engineering expires the end of this year. So we're going out with RFPs to solicit firms to propose to provide us with services for the next year. Methane monitoring, water quality monitoring, a number of things required by ADEQ. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Supervisor Humphrey.
No questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, no questions.
I'm good as well, Steve, so with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to authorize the advertisement of a request for qualifications number 072622.
Mr. Chair, I will second that.
Having a second, motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Moving on to E, information, discussion, action to approve Forest Service Road Project Agreement Number 22-R011031200-184 for the environmental update in the reimbursable amount of $472,000 for Forest Service Road 512. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This money is a congressional appropriation that came down from Senator Sinema Kelly, supported it. And it actually called for paving the 512 road it was $500,000. With $500,000, we can't do a lot of paving. The environmental document was outdated and needs updated before anything can be done. We talked to the local Forest Service, the Tono office, and they agreed that the money could be used to update the environmental document. Once we have it updated, any type of funds that come in, we'll be able to pave, whether it's a mile, half a mile, but we can continue paving the road once we get the document updated. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, Steve, if we spend that kind of money updating the policy, how long will it be updated? I mean, is it going to be for 6 months or a year and then need to be updated again?
Chairman Klein, Supervisor Humphrey, very good question. It's hard to say if new T&E species become on the endangered list, then we'll have to update, but it won't be a complete rewrite. It would just be a short paragraph or something. This should last for a number of years. I think the last time it was updated was late 90s.
Okay, no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Steve. Are we going to need the whole 472 to do this study?
Chairman Klein, Supervisor Christensen, I don't think so. I don't think it'll take near that much, so we should be able to take the rest and apply for different things. Not quite sure yet until we know how much it does take, but I wouldn't expect it to take that much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So Steve, if this goes through, then you're going to be reaching out to a consultant or a company or whoever to do the updates, or is the Forest Service going to do it?
No, the county we will hire it done, contract it out. We'll either go on state procurement and find who's already approved that maybe we've worked with in the past that specializes in this type of stuff, or we'll put an RFP out for and solicit.
Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Forest Service Road Project Agreement Number 22-RO-1103, 1200-184, and the reimbursement amount of $472,000 for Forest Service Road 512.
And I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to F, information, discussion, action to approve the use of Arizona State Contract Number ADSP 018-207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology Incorporated in the amount of $98,000 for maintenance of the flood alert system in the areas of the 4 watersheds affected by the Telegraph Fire for the period of September 6, 2022 to September 5th, 2023. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Last year, as a result of the Telegraph Fire, we reached out to DFM, Department of Forestry and Fire Management, requested funds to put alert gauges, cameras in the watersheds, things like that to alert people, warn people of flooding that would be coming down. DFM paid for that. That contract has expired. The equipment needs some maintenance along with other equipment that we have. We reached back out to DFM. They would not pay for maintenance of the equipment. So standing here before you asking for you to approve a contract with Fuller to continue to maintain the alert gauges and provide warning for the runoff in this area.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Humphrey?
No question.
Supervisor Christensen?
No questions, thank you.
I don't believe I have any either, Steve, so with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve Arizona State Contract Number ADSP 018-207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology Incorporated in the amount of $98,000.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. On to G, information, discussion, action to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval to purchase one 2023 Ford Transit 250 low roof, short wheelbase cargo prisoner transport van with installed passenger insert. The delivered price for the 23 model is $79,569.63 from Santan Partners LLC under state contract CTR 059323. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This, while it says ratify, this item, what is currently scheduled right now was when it was initially scheduled. We were told the window to order transit vans would be closing later this week. We had a call 2 weeks ago from Santan Ford telling us that the window was closing the next day. So therefore, to get the order in, we made the order. This is just to approve and ratify the permission to make the order.
Supervisor Humphrey?
I guess I have no questions. No.
Supervisor Christensen?
No questions, thanks.
Steve, this is for our crews here from, that we use here locally, right?
Globe to Payson, Payson to Globe.
Yeah, okay.
Transporting prisoners.
All right, thank you. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval to purchase one 2023 Ford Transit 250 low roof, short wheelbase cargo passenger transport van from Santan Partners LLC under the state contract CTR 059323 for the delivery price of $79,569.63 as presented.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. One more, Steve. H, information, discussion, action to accept a quitclaim deed recorded as fee number 2022-010495, Gila County records from Robert Fuller, and accept a quitclaim deed recorded at fee number 2022-010496, Gila County records from Carl D. Randall, Fred M. Randall, George C. Randall, Robert G. Randall for that property in Pine, Arizona, known locally as the Lane. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This piece of land runs from Highway 87 on the north, kind of across from the Mormon church, almost to Pine Creek on the south, vary in widths. We believe that it was probably right after the turn of the century when it was patented a livestock driveway for people, and the Fullers and the Randalls sold everything off but this. They still retained ownership, but records were lost through time, and it just kind of became a strip of land called the Lane. Next to the school, there's a road on it. Some title research showed that Randalls and Fuller still owns it. We went to the heirs of the Randalls and Fullers, and they agreed to quitclaim it to the county. Our intent is to use it for drainage way, for access, for recreators, walking, horseback riding, things like that. And this is to accept the quitclaim deed from the Fullers and the Randalls.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned a road on it. Is that a road that public's using that we're gonna need to maintain? And if we're gonna maintain a road, drainage in a road just doesn't seem to coincide very well.
Chairman Klein, Supervisor Humphrey, good question. This portion of the road it's the only portion that has a road on it. It's in front of the school, how the buses go around. I believe the school probably built it. There's drainage, good drainage on the side of the road that will collect it all through there. And yes, we'll end up owning it and maintaining that portion of the road for the school.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. I don't believe I have any questions. I'm real familiar with this property, so it was not on our tax rolls.
No.
And it's something that Homero Vela thought we should possess so that we can control the drainage through that area. Thank you.
I'm good, Steve. So with that, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to accept a quitclaim deed fee number 2022-010495, Gila County records from Robert Fuller, and accept a quitclaim deed fee number 2022-010496, Gila County records from Carl, Fred, George, and Robert Randall as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
you.
Steve. And moving on to I, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 2 to intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 055258 with the Arizona Department of Health Services for the funding of Title V Maternal and Child Healthy Arizona Families Initiative to revise the scope of work and the price sheet, which extends the contract for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, in the amount of $151,325. Josh, you're back.
Back again. Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. So this is a continuing grant that we've had in place for a long time. The first thing I'll cover is the little small attachment that they moved over to it. It is actually the money that we use to do that community health assessment and community health improvement plan that we spoke about earlier. It used to be a block grant where we just received the money and billed quarterly, and now it's a cost reimbursement. So they just moved that over from one pile of money we get on one IGA to another pile to make it cost reimbursement. The other piece of money, the maternal and child health, we use the majority of that these days for oral health. We're trying to do a better job at getting access qualified dentists or dentists that aren't to take access. And we're working to give incentives usually to mothers and young children for doing their wellness checks and to come back to the dentist to do the follow-ups from the wellness check. So we've started doing, if you've looked lately on social media, we've started doing some checkups at the senior centers and the libraries. We did one down in Hayden Winkelman, and they just did Miami, and I think we're going to be doing one up in Payson as well. We haven't really done an oral health program very long in Gila County, but it's becoming pretty successful, and if we have our way, we'll keep getting different pots of money that we can work on to keep improving that.
Thank you, Josh. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, no questions.
Good job, thank you. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 2 to intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 055258 with the Arizona Department of Health Services in the amount of $151,325.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. On to J, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 22-09-04 to update and adopt the 22 Gila County Emergency Operations Plan. Josh and Carl.
Well, any chance I have to bring Carl up here, I always feel like it's a good idea. So our emergency operation plan, probably one of the most important plans we have in the county, kind of dictates when there's declared emergencies, who's responsible for what, and how we go about handling those emergencies. It's a state mandated thing that we have an emergency management department and that we have an emergency operations plan. Our last, we completely rewrote it in 2019. So we were due, I think everybody remembers we've had a COVID and a few fires since 2019. So it was time to do an update. And I'll let you go over a couple of the updates that we did.
So a few of the updates were just kind of to address the statutory requirements that the county has emergency management wise and grant requirements. For example, we were required to have a logistics plan that was included in the emergency operations plan. But also a few things were streamlined. I mean, historically, looking back at the plans in the past, they were larger plans. At one point, I think there was a 400-page plan. We're down to under 100 pages, and the way that we did that was utilizing Selena Cates as our planner, having a local planner do it rather than contracting it out. She was able to kind of base it more off of what we actually do rather than, grandiose ideas of what should be in these plans. So this is the first time I can say we have an actual functional Gila County-based emergency operations plan based off of our successes and our improvement plans over the past years. And this was definitely a needed improvement because the last plan was written when prior to the pandemic and prior to our record-breaking fires. So there's been huge improvements. Really excited to present that plan to you guys, and just yet another plan that we've kind of pushed into the future and made it look a lot better and a lot more usable. Oh, and active shooter was addressed within this plan too. That was another requirement that we needed to address.
Thank you. Thank you both. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, guys, for the presentation. Yeah, appreciate it, everything you do.
I like the idea of somebody locally writing that plan. So I think that would be a good thing. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to adopt resolution number 22-09-04.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thanks. Okay, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 6 to contract number 019-0444 between the Gila County Council for Senior Citizens, PGCSC, Area Agency on Aging, Region 5, and Gila County Community Services Department Housing Services, extending the contract effective July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, and adding $20,226 to be used for home repair and renovations for a total contract amount of $101,778. Melissa?
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. This is, as it says, an amendment to our emergency repair program that we have for seniors and disabled. Small pot of money that comes in through PGCSC to our department so that we're able to really go out on emergencies, AC units if they're broke down, portable ones, heat, plumbing, that kind of stuff, so.
Thank you, Melissa. Supervisor Humphrey.
Ed, on this, do they need to be like the weatherization certified in order to do this?
Just licensed contractors.
Just licensed contractors,
And we
so,
normally use, excuse me, I'm sorry.
no, they're fine.
We normally use subcontractors for this, Quick Cool, EarthQuest, that kind of stuff for whatever it is specific to what's going on.
Yeah, great. I'm just glad to hear that we can use local contractors
Local.
for some of this money.
I know.
Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Melissa. I have no questions.
I'm good as well, Melissa. Thank you. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 6 to contract number 019-0444 with Pinell Gila Council for Senior Citizens Area Agency on Aging Region 5 in the amount of $101,778.
Second that?
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to L, information, discussion, action to award request for proposals number 062922 weatherization materials and services to Advantage Home Performance Incorporated for a not to exceed the amount of $311,015 for a period of 1 year with a 1-year renewal option. Melissa?
Yes, supervisors. This is coming before you actually again from a few prior months ago. An ADOH was monitored and Department of Energy said that we needed to go out again and see if we could obtain any more bidders, basically. Again, we would obtain no other bidders except for Advantage Home Performance. Our group from the state has written a letter to Department of Energy that says it makes it harder for local contractors, specifically in the rural areas, to obtain some of these contracts from us. And we are scheduled to meet with them in October so that we can see if there's anything we can do to promote local contractors more so than what's going on right now.
Thank you, Melissa. Supervisor Humphrey.
Thank you. If I can help with anything, letter, whatever, in addressing them to keep this monopoly monster from taking all that money away from local contractors. And I would think with that much money a year, that's a lot of jobs, and it's coming from out of town for their services. Is that not? So they're able to show up and do things I wouldn't believe would be as quick as local contractors can do. So thank you for reaching out to them and let them know that, you know, that it's not helping the people or the local contractors. So if there's anything I can do, let me know and I'll be happy to. As a contractor or a supervisor, I'll be happy to give you letters of anything that might help you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Melissa. I have no questions.
So going back to what Supervisor Humphrey said, these are state guidelines that cause us to have to do this, correct?
And the state guidelines are based on Department of Energy guidelines that come down from the federal government.
Maybe.
They pass from Department of Energy and that program into Arizona Department of Housing, and they have a special unit, so to speak, that does nothing but weatherization.
So if we were to try and look at something that would promote more local businesses to do some of this work, we'd start at the state, but we'd eventually end up with the feds then, right?
Yes. And we have, and what they tell us is you have training money to train local contractors for these certain certifications. But local contractors are small businesses, and while we'll pay for their training, we can't pay for their time spent at the training and then ongoing training that's required for the certifications. So, I mean, like I said, they do give us a line item for training, but it doesn't pay for the person's time. It used to, back in 2009, actually paid for motels and per diem, but it doesn't do that now. So what we've come to find out, you can't afford to have two guys down in the valley in a training for 2 weeks and then ongoing training, having to pay them. They have to get a paycheck, and the small business owner, needs to have money coming in, and we're not able to do that at this point. We're trying to go to online training so that maybe they can put that out there in smaller 2 hours in the afternoon or something to that effect, but it's still a requirement for them to go down and test out. They test with the equipment, that sort of thing. So it's a work in progress, and I really am, since I've started in housing, I've always wanted and promoted for local contractors.
Sure.
But it's become just so convoluted, so to speak. I hate to, so then you're in a situation where you want the people to be helped, but you also want local contractors to be doing the work. So we're trying.
Well, maybe in the future, near future, we can help somewhat with that, Melissa. Because it is important to me, for sure, to keep the money local as much as we
Right.
can, and the services here local. So thank you, Melissa, for everything you're working on, though. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to award request for proposal number 062922 to Advantage Home Performance Incorporated for not to exceed amount of $311,015 as presented.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you,
very
Melissa.
much.
Information, discussion, action to approve economic development grant number 08262022 to the Northern Gila County Fair in the amount of $15,000 that the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. Mary?
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. The Northern Gila County Fair, Inc. came to Supervisor Christensen and asked if we could again support their function, the fair that's coming up this weekend. And they filled out the application form that we have, and they also said that their direct benefit that they plan on providing to the county was advertising for the county. And they identified the increments of what that is. They're going to be advertising the county throughout the fair, either print, banners, and on the radio. So we ask that you approve that economic development grant for them.
Thank you, Mary. Supervisor Humphrey?
I guess just on the next two items, I'll reach out to the attorneys. Do they have an issue with this?
Chairman Klein, Supervisor Humphrey, you should still consider everything we've discussed in executive session in regard to economic development grants. Here, if you do find that it's for the benefit of the public, we do have authority. We have to also consider the gift clause. Here, Mary has indicated that the fair is willing to provide advertisement that is on the radio and the banner and also there at the fair. So it's in your discretion to determine whether or not, one, that's for the benefit of the public, and then two, what we've talked about previously, whether the benefit that the county is receiving is grossly disproportionate. So if you feel that the county is receiving a direct benefit back that is not grossly disproportionate with the county, with what the county is giving, then there would be no gift clause violation that you would see. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're good?
No further questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mary. I have no questions.
I'm good to go with it. Thank you. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Economic Development Grant Number 08262022 to the Northern Gila County Fair in the amount of $15,000.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to N, information, discussion, action to approve economic development grant number 09022022 to Miami Genesis Incorporated in the amount of $3,500 that the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. Mary?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. Miami Genesis, Inc. is the nonprofit organization that organizes the annual Mexican Fiesta being held at the Bullion Plaza this year. And they came to the supervisor and requested a contribution of $3,500 to help with the expenses. And again, they have determined that they would do a direct benefit of advertising the county throughout the event. And so they're asking for approval of this $3,500 contribution.
Thank you, Mary. Supervisor Humphrey?
No questions. It's under the same hat as the last one.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, no questions.
I'm good. Thank you. So with that, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve Economic Development Grant Number 09022022 to Miami Genesis Incorporated in the amount of $3,500.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. It does need to include that the board has determined that it's for the benefit of the public. So if that was not done on the previous item, I apologize. We do want to make sure that the board did determine that each economic grant is for the benefit of the public.
So it's listed in the item is not as a benefit of the public, but you need that in the motion?
Yes, we need to make sure that the board has found, or
Okay.
I'm sorry, that the board has determined it is for the benefit of the public.
Okay, so do we need to pull that motion back and restate in their motion?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve Economic Development Grant Number 09022022 to Miami Genesis Incorporated, and that the board has determined it to be for the benefit of the public in the amount of $3,500.
I'll second that.
having motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Do we need to
Thank you.
back up and do the other one as well?
Yes.
Okay, so moving back to M. TM, do you want to restate?
Mr. Chair, on M, I move to approve Economic Development Grant Number 08262022 to the Northern Gila County Fair in the amount of $15,000, and the board has found that will be beneficial to the public.
I will
Thank you.
second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Okay, we're caught up now. On to O, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 22-09-03 in support of a gaming grant application submitted by Hells Gate Fire District and award from Gila River Indian Community in the amount of $36,970 to purchase 6 new mobile radios for frontline vehicles and 6 new portable handheld radios for staff, and to act as a fiscal agent by agreeing to be a pass-through agency and accept funding on behalf of Hells Gate Fire District. Chief Morse, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and boards of supervisors. Thank you for letting me come again. Seems like I'm here on a monthly basis. First off, I'd like to thank Mary Springer for all the work that she has done to assist not only the Hells Gate Fire District, but the other districts here to be able to be a pass-through, working with the county to be able to get these resolutions passed. Just FYI, we did submit this application back on February 24th of this year, and we were notified last week that we are going to be a recipient or be awarded this money. We only have to have a resolution by the board, which we did not do initially because we were following the guidelines that Gila River had. So now that we are going to be awarded this money, we do need a resolution for on behalf of Hell's Gate Fire Department.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey, any questions?
I have no questions. I think it's a great deal, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations for being awarded that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maury. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 22-09-03.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Moving on
Thank
to
you very
P.
much. Have a good day.
Information discussion action to authorize a request to advertise request for qualifications numbers 080-32022. Design build for Gila County Fairgrounds restroom facility. Mary, you're it again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. This RFQ is requesting a design build for a restroom facility much needed out by the arena area. We're trying to make the fairgrounds more functionable, and we have just recently installed the new portable arena and have quite a bit of interest in using that arena for events. And currently what they do when they hold events out there, they bring in porta potties. Having something more stationary, more suitable to a more permanent use is going to make that fairgrounds even more beneficial to the residents and visitors. So we're asking your approval to go out for bid for that.
Thank you, Mary. Supervisor Humphrey.
Just thank you a million times. It's been one of my pet peeves for a long time is to get that functioning again. And now that the arena's up, I understand that we already have interest in junior rodeos perhaps coming. So thank you very much for continuing to help us with the improvements of the fairgrounds.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I was out there last week and they were paving. So I presume that parking, what they're doing there, but where would these bathrooms be located, do you know?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, so if you went out by where the portable arena is, there's an RV park, there's a portable arena.
Yeah.
So somewhere between that, we're trying to get it situated because there's already electrical out there, there's water out there, and there's also a septic tank. So we're trying to make it convenient to put them out there so that people don't have to walk all the way to the exhibit hall or up on the hill for the bathrooms.
Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary, as well. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to authorize the request to advertise request for qualifications number 080320022.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Q, information, discussion, action to approve the partial American Rescues Plan Fund allocations in the amount of $6,500,000 and direct staff to move forward with project implementations. This is your last one, Mary.
This is a big one, Mr. Chairman, supervisors. So over the last few months, we've talked about the American Rescue Plan funds. County received a little over $10 million. And so through presenting capital items to you and the facilities and different things, we have put together a plan for the first $6.5 million. So the projects are listed: record digitization, IT upgrades, website development, Pleasant Valley Veterans Camp, fairgrounds improvements, Payson Courthouse remodel, GCSO remodel, the facility up in Payson, premium pay, which is authorized by the American Rescue Plan, and the general fund fleet. So if we want to go to the next slide, Dave. So record digitization, Randy Plumere and his folks kind of took the lead with that. They're working with Iron Mountain to come up with taking a look at all those plans that they have up in their offices and get them all digitized. And along with that is also implementing a software solution to where people have self-service, where they can actually go and retrieve documents that have been digitized. So talk to Randy about that. The clerk of the Superior Court has also been digitizing records, but she's got a huge vault both upstairs and downstairs, of paper records. Those need to be digitized. And in talking to the treasurer's office, they also had paper records. So we've got three pretty hefty departments that we can get started with. And we started with community development. And along with that improvement, it requires IT solutions for storage of records. So we want to make sure we didn't do something that's going to affect the IT department where we didn't support them. Next slide, Dave. So Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. I actually heard Supervisor Klein on the radio yesterday talking about this on KMOG, but there's a lot of improvements that need to be done to give that facility kind of the look and feel of a respite area, a place that veterans and first responders can go and relax and enjoy the outdoors. And part of that is working on the administrative building. It's in good shape for the most part, but it needs new flooring, it needs paint, it needs some ADA restroom fixtures, kind of, I don't want to call it a facelift because it's a little more than that. So those are some of the first improvements that we're going to be working on. And then there's also the outdoor area that I know some volunteers have already started putting in walking paths and that kind of thing. So I know the supervisors had said that this is one of the priorities at $1 million to invest in this property. The next slide, again, we talk about the Gila County Fair. The items that you see on there itemized, most of those things on the top, those are actual costs and those have been done. $464,000, a little over that. The next areas that are planned is the restroom, and where we tore out all those buildings by the grandstand, we're looking to put covered pavilion, which will make that area more usable to food truck events, picnic areas, just make it more usable. So that takes care of the $1 million that you had identified for that. And there's more improvements beyond that, but that shows you where that money would go. The next one, the Payson Courthouse. Working with the departments in there to optimize the space utilization of that building. We think that there's going to have to be fire sprinklers installed, and that's a pretty sizable sum if you're going to start putting fire sprinklers in a building. But we've already been notified that if you touch any square inch in there, that's going to be a requirement. So I know the facilities have met with courts and have some ideas. They've worked with our planner, Karen Page, to come up with some kind of a plan to better utilize that space and make it more functional. And that was set at $1 million. The next is the Gila County Sheriff's Office. There's already been plans drawn up to optimize space utilization in that building. Again, it's another $1 million for that building to get us started and start making better use of that space. COVID premium pay, we hadn't really talked about this one. This is one of the allowable uses. There were 4 buckets of use in the plan that the feds told us that we could use. Some of the money, $10 million can be used for general governmental services, but we still have about $492,000 that have to fit one of those buckets. And so after looking at all that, premium pay seemed to be a good fit, and not only a good fit, but for those folks that were frontline workers during the period of COVID, a much deserved, not incentive, but so to speak, hazard pay. We had folks in detention that were on the front line of prisoners coming in. We had people that showed up every day, whether or not they needed to be out there taking care of road work. They were in here working at the counters, visiting with the public. So we engaged the health department, Michael O'Driscoll and Josh Beck and his team, to talk about the different levels of exposure that our employees had. They came up with a great plan as far as, people that were like in the mix constantly on the bubble 24/7, meeting with the public, answering questions, being out there to folks that were office workers but showed up every day. The one class of folks that were not eligible for any premium pay are those individuals that worked from home during that period of time. And that is right in the guidelines. If you worked from home during that period of time, you were not eligible. So we feel that Health Department came up with a good plan for distributing that excess $490-some thousand to our employees that were affected during that pandemic. And the last bucket that we have is fleet replacement for non-GCSO patrol vehicles, looking at our fleet and trying to get the fleet vehicles replaced that need replacing based on the chart that Dave LaForge and crew have come up with as far as mileage, age, maintenance costs and that. So we want to take $500,000 there and invest it in our fleet. So those are the items that we have listed for the $6.5 million. We're reserving some of that funds. So we have another laundry list of things, but we didn't want to spend the whole bucket of money in one fell swoop. That's plenty of projects to get us started and moving. We have till 2024 to spend the money, so we will be coming back for the additional amount to say, here are the other items that you've expressed an interest in spending, or perhaps maybe some of the projects that I've listed there, we need additional money to fund that. So we wanted to reserve some of those funds for those instances. So we're asking for your approval to go ahead and get us started.
Thank you, Mary. Supervisor Humphrey.
Just thank you very much for all the finance and helping us with these projects that I feel are needed for the constituents. And so thank you very much in helping us walk through this process.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mary. So we're basically going to have about another $3.5 million in reserve. Ready.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, that's correct.
Yeah. And this is non-match money. This is just a real blessing, actually.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think I get it. Thank you.
I like the way we went with this. The one question I'd have, and maybe that's for you, James, is on the fleet part of it. When we're looking at spending $500,000 more in fleet, are we reducing our number of fleet? Is that, Homero, when he left, he had a program started with if you had X amount of miles, they would stay or they're being used. If it didn't, they're out the door, gone. Are we implementing that?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we continue to do that. We have been getting more information with Mr. LaForge through our fleet services, that they continue to gather information, and vehicles that don't run more than a certain number of miles each year is obviously not a necessary part of the fleet and shouldn't be assigned. So we look for every opportunity to reduce our number of vehicles. A lot of these, of course, will be replacing 20-plus-year-old vehicles that are not safe to have out on the highway and those types of things. So look for opportunities to reduce always when the vehicles are not used to a certain number of miles each year, and then to ensure that people that are out on the road are safe on county business.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Mary. That entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the partial American Rescue Plan Fund allocations in the amount of $6,500,000 and direct staff with project implementations.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mary. On to our information discussion action to approve the memorandum of agreements with the Copper Corridor Blight Buster Coalition with Superior, Winkleman, Globe, Miami, and Pinal County, and authorizing Gila County to act as the lead agency from October 1st, 2021 to October 31st, 2024. Myself and Kathy Melvin are on this, and I'm going to let Kathy lead on this one. It's all yours, Kathy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen. This is just another step in the grant that we applied for on behalf of the Copper Corridor Blight Buster Coalition, the EPA Brownfields Grant. This just formalizes our relationship with the communities, giving us the permission to act as the lead agency. When we applied for the grant, they all gave us that permission in the form of a letter, but EPA wanted it to be more formal in granting us the permission to act as a lead agency, which means working with the contractor and all the various communities and setting up all of the public participation meetings and that type of thing. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I have no questions. I think it's a great deal.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, no questions.
Well, with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the memorandum of agreements with the Copper Corridor Blight Buster Coalition and authorize Gila County to act as the lead agency from October 1, 2021 to October 31st, 2024.
I'll second that motion.
Having
Mr.
a
Chair.
motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. So information, discussion, action to authorize the submission and subsequent acceptance of a state grants in aid application by the Gila County Library District to the Arizona State Library, Archives, and Public Records Library Development Division for the fiscal year 23 in the amount of $25,000 designated to Gila County for the period of July 1st, 22 through June 30th, 23. Good morning, Elaine.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Thank you, board members. I appreciate your time. This is a reoccurring grant that the library is able to apply for and seems to receive on a yearly basis. The money goes to all of our libraries. We keep some of the funds, and then we also give some of the library, or all of our libraries, funds for them to spend at their discretion. It can't be used for salaries, but can be used for things that their budgets normally wouldn't qualify for. If you have
Thank
any
you, Elaine.
questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Elaine. No questions.
Neither do I, Elaine, thank you. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I will move to authorize the submission and subsequent acceptance of a state grants in aid application in the amount of $25,000 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to T, information, discussion, action to approve library service agreements for Isabel Hunt, Pine, and Miami Public Libraries in the period of July 1st, 22 to June 30th, 23. Elaine?
This is two more of our libraries that have given us the permission for the library service agreement. We would like to be able to give them the funding for their FY23. You had approved 4 libraries in July. These are 2 additional ones. We have one more that we're still waiting on. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to help.
Supervisor Humphrey?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve library service agreement for Isabel Hunt, Pine, and Miami Public Libraries.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Elaine. Information, discussion, action to approve the agreement for E-rate services between Gila County Library District and Yavapai County through the Yavapai County School Superintendent for a term of 3 years effective July 1st, 22 to June 30th, 25 at a rate of $4,000 per year. Authorize the chairman's signature on the agreement and authorize the Gila County Librarian to sign the letter of agency. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. I drew the short straw on E-rate. I usually do. In 2018, the school superintendent's office, the Gila County Library District, all the schools and all the libraries created the Gila County Information Education Technology Consortium. That's a mouthful. Going after an E-rate for construction grant to bring high-speed broadband to all the schools and libraries in Gila County. We were awarded that a $20 million grant in 2020, which 18 to 20. It took 2 years just to get to there. In 2021, the consortium contracted with the Yavapai County Education Service Agency to provide consulting and continuing assistance to the consortium for E-rate. That agreement is split between the library district and the school superintendent's office. That's for $5,000 a year. In addition to that process, while we continue to wait on the actual connectivity to the libraries and the schools, we still, as a library district, directly apply for E-rate for connectivity for 4 of those libraries. And we are authorized for it, has been reauthorized for E-rate for Category 2 funding, which is equipment and cabling. We find that the Yavapai Education Service Agency has been invaluable to the consortium, and we also need some of that technical assistance. They are leaders in Arizona on the E-rate processes and forms and formats. With this agreement, should you approve it, the library district will pay $4,000 a year for continuing assistance for E-rate application and the subsequent forms that have to be filed and the eventual audits that have to be done. We will have that kind of expertise at our disposal. They also are providing us E-rate training for as many of IT and library folks as want it so that we can learn more about it. I can scratch the surface on what I know about E-rate. These folks go on in the deep end, and they're going to be providing us training starting later this month, should this be approved, so that we have a better understanding as Gila County on particularly Category 2 funding. And I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Jackie. Supervisor Humphrey.
Mr. Chair, no questions.
Thank you.
Supervisor Christensen.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's a good deal, having them help us, so thank you.
Blessing, absolute blessing.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve the agreement for E-rate services between Gila County Library District and Yavapai County through the Yavapai County School Superintendent for the term of 3 years as presented.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Jackie. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn as Gila County Library District Board of Directors and convene as the Gila County Board of Equalization.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. On to V, information, discussion, action to reappoint Howard C. Johnson for the Board of Equalization's hearing officer and approve the contract to extend the term for 2 additional years from July 5th, 22 to July 4th, 24, and increase the dollar amount to $115 per clock hour. And Missy, you're it.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the board. In Gila County, the Board of Supervisors acts as the Board of Equalization. And the county may appoint hearing officers pursuant to ARS 42-16-103 and to review and make initial determinations on petitions filed pursuant to ARS 42-16-105. The hearing officer has subsequent knowledge and experience in property values and appraisal procedures. Mr. Johnson has extensive knowledge, and he has done this for a really long time, and he has been invaluable to us for many years as our hearing officer. And we actually have hearings coming up in this month, and we would really like to extend his contract. I would like to extend his contract for another 2 years. So I'm asking the board to extend his contract for another 2 years, and he has increased his rates this year to $115 per clock hour.
Supervisor Humphrey?
I just think it's money well spent, because when it was kind of on our table, it was an education that I didn't have to feel comfortable in making those decisions. So I think it's money well spent, and thank you very much, Missy.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Missy. I have no questions.
I agree with Supervisor Humphrey. I remember those days, and they weren't pleasant, so I'm good. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to reappoint Howard C. Johnson for the Board of Equalization's hearing officer and approve extending the terms of the contract by 2 additional years with an increase in the dollar amount of $115 per clock hour.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Missy, and I'd take a motion to adjourn as Gila County Board of Equalization and reconvene as Gila County Board of Supervisors.
I so moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to 5, consent agenda action items. Do either one of you have anything you want to discuss or remove?
Mr. Chair, I have nothing I would care to remove.
Neither do I.
And I believe I'm good as well, so I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve consent agenda items A through M.
I will second.
Having a motion and second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. On to 6, call to the public. Lisa, do we have any call to the public in Payson?
Yes, sir, I have 3 people that would like to speak to the board.
Okay, and we'll need their names and all the information when they get to the podium.
Hi, I'm Ray Fugel. I reside in Pine, Arizona. And thankfully, I'm not here for rezoning today. I'm here, however, for a much more important matter. And I hate to be over dramatic, but it is a matter of life and death. We are being overrun with wildlife in Pine. And the Gila County Board of Supervisors had the foresight in 2001 to pass an ordinance. However, it was limited to the feeding of bears. What we need today is an ordinance that covers all wildlife, and let me tell you why. The Airbnbs, the VRBOs, they're all promoting feeding of the wildlife. We are being overrun with elk like we have never been overrun before. On Old County Road, just down the street from me, a 9-year-old girl playing in her yard was stomped by an elk and severely injured. Fortunately, she was just severely injured. The hoofs, if it went one way or another, she wouldn't be here today. One of our residents in Pine Creek Resort, walking her dog, she held on for dear life because now the coyotes are coming down because we're having so many babies, elk babies. She held on to the dog so it wouldn't chase the coyote. Her head was slammed into the concrete and she was air evac'd to the valley with a brain injury. On one of our residences, one of my residences, the front door was actually run into by an elk, and they broke the door jamb. The contractor's here today who fixed it. In my own yard, I'm standing out there, and 3 elk kept coming towards me. They're used to being fed by people. We've actually seen people holding carrots out to feed elk. No brains. They don't realize an elk will kill you. Just this morning, my wife and her friends were walking on Bradshaw Road, where residents have a feeder. On one side of the road were 20 elk, cow elk. The other side of the road was a bull. They had to turn around, but the feeding of the wildlife it's just become overwhelming. We've never seen so many babies. If we don't do something now, this is going to grow exponentially because of the number of young elk being born in Pine. I've discussed this with Jared McFarland, the wildlife manager supervisor of the Arizona Game and Fish Department. He said if we passed an ordinance, they would be very happy to enforce it. And I have his contact information here for you. I also have the ordinance that the Board of Supervisors passed in 2001, and also the ordinances from Cochise County, Prescott, Flagstaff, apparently they've had similar challenges, just like we are experiencing. The co-chief's ordinance, I think, is very good because the first citation is a warning and education. After that, the ordinance is similar to what the supervisors adopted in 2001 regarding bears in Gila County. So if I may, I'll leave this with you if they would like the information, but we would certainly appreciate if you look into this before anyone else gets harmed or possibly killed, because it is getting very serious. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And Lisa, yeah, if you could just send that on down to us, that would be great. And you have 2 more?
Yes, sir, I do. Yep. State your name and your address.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Theo Augustine Spurlock. I live in Strawberry, in my address, 9161 West Tonto Rim Road in Strawberry. And I'm kind of following up on Mr. Bugle here on the situation with especially elk. There's just way too many. I've been here most of my life, and it was a rarity to see an elk. It was a big deal to see one. Now, it's worse than rats. People cannot afford to be fencing their properties when they want to grow gardens or have their apple orchards, and they're just destroying everything. Besides, they're very dangerous. And in front of my house, I've seen mountain lions hiding their kill from baby elk. Something, like Mr. Pugel said, has to be done. Hopefully, we can educate or pass a law for people not to feed the elk. I don't know, are you coming to say something? Somebody else? You? That's about my input because Mr. Pugel pretty much covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name's Roger Miato, and I live in Pine. I'd like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity to speak. I've been a resident of Pine for 26 years. I'm also a member of Search and Rescue here in Gila County for 25 years, so I've seen a lot of wildlife in my time. I also have been the board president of Solitude Trails for 18 years. And now since retired from that position, but I'm very much involved with the subdivision where I live. Too many elk. I have people who are homeowners who live full-time in our subdivision. There are also people who are outside of the subdivision or intermittent use homeowners where they build these huge feeding troughs and they want to feed the elk and the deer. It brings in larger predators, mountain lions and bear and coyotes, what have you, like he mentioned. The situations where I've been to job sites, since I'm the contractor who repaired a damaged door from Mr. Pugel, that the neighbor next to me said that there was a dead baby elk in the backyard. And the mother and the father allegedly were hovering over it, and it looked like it was attacked by some other type of predator. And that was in Portals 2. Might even been reported. I think something needs to be done legally for people to some type of an ordinance or a fining process. I know we're asking for a lot. If some of these organizations are wildlife and game and fish are, understaffed possibly. But something has to be done here. It's a safety issue. For instance, is my last thing that I'd like to talk about is my grandson, 2 years old, 40 feet away from us in his little play area, mother and father, grandparents hovering over him in an elevated area. Before you could even snap your fingers, 2 elk were hovering over him as he was playing. And luckily for us, we got quick enough for us to go out there and respond and shoo the elk away. They are not afraid of humans. Too many people have been getting away with the feeding of these wild animals. They think it's cute, but it's detrimental to the actual well-being of the animal itself, because when the people go away and they don't feed the animals anymore, they just come around our neighborhoods and they destroy our plant life and they destroy other items in our neighborhood. And I just think that it's someone's responsibility that they have to step up and do something about these large herds now. I heard that the herd between Pine and Strawberry is over 200 plus elk. I don't know if they should either put out more hunting licenses or whatever it might take. I think a fining process like I mentioned earlier, or some type of ordinance, or, you know, not just a slap on the wrist to these homeowners, that they got to just stop feeding these animals until it's only a matter of time before someone gets really seriously injured. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Does that wrap it up, Lisa?
Yes, it does, sir.
So thank you all for your comments. Do we have anybody on YouTube? No? No one here that I see. Okay. Moving on to number 7. Supervisor Humphrey, do you have any updates you want to share with us?
Attended a Central Arizona Government Regional Council meeting. Attended the Reagan Day dinner. I'll hold a Tonto Basin Community meeting this evening at 5. We'll attend the Cattle Growers Steak Fry on Saturday. I'll hold a Roosevelt Community meeting on Monday, the 12th at 1. And I'll be on KQSS radio also Monday, the 12th, but that'll be at 5:30 in the evening. Other than that, I don't have anything, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey, and Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Long weekend was good, a lot of traffic in town. Heard you on the radio yesterday, good job.
Thank you.
So we have a fair coming up this week, Northern Gila County Fair. So that, I think I'm going to be at that lunch as well on Saturday. That's at Little Green Valley. Yeah. I'm going to try and be there. Thank you.
Good. So yeah, you did have a lot of traffic yesterday.
Miles.
So I left early to get in there to beat the traffic, and I did. It wasn't too bad. I was there an hour and a half. And by the time I got out of there, it was backed up and stopped at Little Green Valley. James, did you have something you want to go before I do?
I do have a couple of things.
Go right ahead.
First, the Gila County Fair that will be held here in Glow, Miami is September 21st through the 25th. So they're geared up for that as they are up at the Northern Gila County Fair. And secondly, very important to all of us and looking at our future calendars, there's a conflict between our groundbreaking of the Tonto Creek Bridge and the County Supervisors Association Legislative Policy Forum. They were both on the 6th of October, and so Mr. Sanders is working to reschedule the groundbreaking to the afternoon of October 4th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so please make note of that. So we'll have a board meeting here in the morning, then go up to Tonto Basin for that groundbreaking event. Again, there are being senators that supported that, legislators, congressmen that supported that are invited, and it will be a good event. Tuesday, October 4th, 2 p.m.
Thank you, James.
And that was it. And then we have the CSA Legislative Summit, the 5th through the 7th, down in Tucson.
Okay. So last week, I'm chair right now on the local workforce board between Navajo County, Apache County, and Gila County. We had some things come up, so we were in Sholo last week to tour the Sholo center there where they work out of. We also wanted to take a tour and look at the NACRN, the Northern Arizona building that the 501c3 up there was putting together with some big plans. We couldn't get in there to take a look at it. We did have a chance to look out from the outside. The building is absolutely huge. I don't know, I just kind of wonder about that. But we did go on to the Sholo Work Center right there where the folks were working out of. And it's right there by Cell 1, which is right across from Hampton Bay. There's a bunch of little shops and car dealers and everything right in there. Well, that particular stretch in Sholo apparently doesn't have any cell service or anything like that. Connectivity is really bad. Phones are horrible. So for the last 2 years or so that I've been on this board, me and some others have pushed pretty hard on numbers that we're serving and how that's all coming out versus the money we're putting into it and everything like that. Haven't ever gotten any real good numbers. Well, these issues have been going on for quite a while, probably since the time I've been on this board, and I was never brought aware of it. Nobody ever told me about these things. So we went in there and talked to those folks there in that office space to find out it's true. They don't have anything for cell service. Their phones are pretty much trashed. Computer services are pretty much non-existent even in there. So we're trying to work with them right now, but the goal, I believe, and James, I'm gonna probably wanna sit down with you sometime very soon and discuss this even further, is to maybe get them back into that DES office in Sholo. And apparently it was there when you were in Sholo, and they moved it out for some reason I do not know. But it was moved, and it desperately needs to go back. So I've been dealing with that as well. So we spent the day up there doing that, and then yesterday I had I was on the KMOG on that, and had a real good discussion with Charlie on some different things that have been going on. And traffic was a bear in Payson, and I'm sure by the time I got home, it was even worse in Payson. So I was there for that. Last Saturday, we had a volunteer day. Joseph came up, Kathy was there. We had a good group of people came into the Veterans Retreat Center up there, and we spent the day around there working on that. And it was a really good showing of all the people. Had people come out of Phoenix just for that, which is really good. And we got a lot of work done. And our goal Saturday was not only to start cleaning up and organizing a lot of that area right there, but also to start looking and planning future for another yard sale type deal with some more stuff that's up there for us to get rid of. And so it was really nice to see, and we got a lot done. And then this week, Thursday, I've got an NRCD meeting. We'll have it here in the boardroom. It'll be Thursday at 9 o'clock, I believe it is. And we'll go over that. And then later that day, we're going to be in Payson to go over the Veteran Retreat website and all that with Cameron Davis. He's developing all that and putting all that together for us. So we're going to get to go take a look at it, see what we think. Cameron's a really good hand at that. I know he's doing an awesome job already. And also on Thursday evening, I will be at the Northern Gila County Fair at 6 o'clock. There's a program that's called Hailing Heroes, and I'm going to be a part of that. I don't know if you're going to be there.
Yep.
Thursday night at 6. So we need to make sure and have that on the board. It is? Cool. Right on. Thank you, Missy. So I look forward to seeing what all that's about, and I always enjoy going up there and participating in that anyway. And then next week, as much as I did not want to do this, I'm headed back to DC for the Pilt Fly-In. And the reason I'm going back is the two people that are representatives here in Arizona as far as public lands, neither one of them could make it. I'm on that committee as well. So I was chosen. But anyway, that was it for me. You guys have anything else?
Enjoy your trip.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, Tim.
And do you have a list of the yard sale, and do I have to sign a non-conflict cause on paperwork?
Hey, we can.
If I attend?
We can post it. You can be there.
Okay, yeah.
No, it'll be good. And that site's really come along well. Joseph and his folks have been working on it and doing some things, and it's really starting to take shape, and we're getting a lot of interest in it right now. People are seeing that. I think once this website is launched and it's out there, which it is out there, Cameron's posting things, people are really getting excited now. So I'm looking forward to all that. With that, I believe we have an executive session. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Seconded.
Having a motion and second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. We good on YouTube? Okay, I'll bring this meeting back to order and I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to direct the legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session and include all paperwork necessary to accomplish it.
Well, you're also going to include in that motion approval of the settlement agreement?
I thought that's what we discussed, but yes. What would you like in it, Jeff?
Motion to, maybe accept is a better, accept the settlement agreement and then direct legal counsel to prepare documents necessary to complete the settlement agreement.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to accept, well, I'm way off base now. I thought we discussed in executive session on which direction we were gonna go, so I didn't realize that I needed to do it here as well. So I would like to make a motion to accept the settlement as discussed in executive session and include all paperwork necessary to accomplish.
We haven't actually prepared that paperwork, but there's documents we need to prepare to complete it, so direct us to.
And to further have legal counsel prepare all of the necessary paperwork as necessary to complete the settlement.
Oh, and I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you all, and with that, meeting adjourned.